have all these shadows here on the board, and I decided to take advantage of them and put a little bit of spooky stuff over here. This is just actually, it says my book of spells, but it's some soaps. Some soaps that I bought at the store. They smell really nice. It's just a cute little box, and I thought it was cute, so I got it. I don't really decorate for Halloween, but like that's the gist of it. Well, that and my little crystal ball. I'm not really into this whole skulls thing, so I don't keep this out all year round, but I think it's cool. I like that it has a crow in there. Okay, so I've done a little Palo Santo. You see I have 3 picks here, 1, 2, and 3. We're just going to pull some cards and see what messages come through. Okay, so use your own intuition to decide if one or more of these has a message for you. How have you been doing? Everything is wonderful here. I'm on day 4 of my walking in the woods every day, little hikes, and gosh, I love it. It's like I got the fever again. I used to be really into hiking years ago, and yeah, I remember that now. So other than that, nothing really new here. I was thinking that I might expand a little bit and show you guys a little bit of more of my life here and there. But as for right now, I'm exhausted. I did a lot of like sorting through my spare room today. I found that I'm still holding on to a lot of stuff I don't actually need, so I think I'm getting ready to donate a bunch of stuff again, and that feels really good and exciting. Like, even just the thought of doing it is just as exciting as having done it, I think. So I'm going to enjoy all the steps of the process. Why not? And I got to have a meeting with my life coach today, and that's always lovely. So let's see what the cards have to say, right? Let's just see. Start with pick one. Alright, pick one. I'm noticing that the burn on my fingers is showing up. Yes, I burnt my fingers. I don't know if you really want to sit through all this. I know the resolution is really low on the video, so that I can upload it. I might as well, I don't do this often, but I might as well shuffle and deal while we're on camera for those who are interested in seeing that. I usually pause while I do this part because I just like to make the videos shorter so I can upload them faster. The reason I want to upload them faster is because it really cuts into my connection when I do uploading. Meaning, like, I can't do much else while it's uploading. Lately I can, if I've lowered the resolution, then I can usually watch a YouTube video while I'm uploading, and it's okay. Okay, so this is actually how I do this deck, because if you know my readings, you know that I like poppers. That's how I take my cards. I ask them to pop out. And this deck is just big and awkward. I recommend making your own deck. You can do it out of playing cards. You see I've done this out of flashcards that I got on clearance. And I like it because I know what I had in mind when I channeled the card, you know, like I just got into a meditative state and I just start like letting concepts come to me that are important for me to utilize in readings, and I try to cover all the important concepts that might need to be looked at or mentioned or understood for me to read a wide variety of life situations and people. So if you can do that for yourself, then it's kind of like speaking your own language with your own cards, you know what I mean? And that seems really beneficial because it's like being sovereign still, and it's relying on your own intuition still. But of course, I appreciate other decks as well that other people have made because, you know, it's beautiful artwork. They put a lot of time and their own energy into it, and it can be really beneficial to see another perspective, which is why you all find yourself here, right? Okay. Besides that, we're going to take some from the Astrology Oracle. This is how I do this. If you've had a reading with me, then you know that I sometimes use this bucket, not for every reading, but it's getting really full, and I started to like it a lot less when it's this full, but it actually still works very well, so I'm not giving up on it yet. And I thought about redoing the tickets so that they're not, because as they get worn, they kind of stick together, you know, and they like fill up the bucket like this. Whereas if they didn't have all that like friction, they would kind of fall down into neat piles. But for now, this is what it is. And now I'm going to get some of the tarot, the Light Seers Tarot. The only other tarot deck that I have is my homemade tarot deck, which I made to teach myself tarot. And really, I love that I've taught myself tarot just by using it, really, and watching other readers and, you know, using Google. And now I have a lot of it committed to memory of, like, what the cards mean. I can kind of feel into it and remember what that card is meaning and utilize it that way. You know, you may have your own cards and you may be reading as well, and if not, I recommend it. Okay. These cards are going to be who are you in the reading. And what is the reading about is going to be these cards. So, like, creating something, growing your financial status or something like that. Shine your light, we got. Shine your light. A soul contract, so you have an intention on doing something here. From a soul level, you decided that it would be the thing to do, and it appears that this is the time to do it. It's like everything's ripe. The grass has been, the grass is green, go, and it's kind of just like the grass is providing you a solid way forward at this time on a soul contract. And now we're seeing partnership, so this could be a business partnership or a relationship. We'll see what else comes out. Yep, we're looking at career here because we've got the 10th house, and also could be something that leads to marriage because the 10th house is also covering our reputation, where the world sees us, our career, and our social standing. This is philia, this is brotherly love. So again, this is still leaning towards a business partnership. Something where there's this genius idea that answers a question of longing, like something you've been really wanting to solve. It's ancient knowledge that you brought in from another time, and it wasn't time to bring it in until now. Like, it wasn't supported yet. And there were certain things that you had to accomplish before it would be unlocked. And I think part of that was accepting a certain cycle that you were in. And we've got paint. I was painting today. Accepting a certain cycle. Let's see. Who are you in this? You're ready to move forward, and you know it's going to affect your reputation. It really changes everything for you. But it also feels like justice. Let's get some advice. So if this sounds like your situation, if this sounds true for you, then we are now asking for some advice for you going forward. Clear out the clutter, which is interesting because I just started this reading in the intro and said that I had been doing that today, or looking at the things that I was planning on doing that to today in my own home. Ask for what you want. Have courage. Okay, so courage is the step after pride. When you look at the energetic ladder, the emotional scale, the emotional vibrational scale shows us that we go from pride to courage. Courage is what gets us out of pride. Pride is making everything about us, whether it's to the detriment or the positive. It just means that we're capped out at that place of self-focus, and this is suggesting that you will have to step out of pride. So there might be some egoic coping mechanism that will challenge you to step into this shining place that you're now due to step into, where you're shining your light. You know, you will be an important example to others. Now, I would like to understand this Two of Cups because it's come in reverse. So let me ask to clarify that. Please clarify the Two of Cups in reverse. Strength, King of Swords, and Queen of Swords. Very interesting. That's a couple right there, right? The King and Queen of Swords is a couple. And we've asked to clarify the Two of Cups in reverse. So I feel like to pull this off, there's going to have to be some communication between these two. See, the swords are about communication. These two are facing each other. They're ready to have a conversation, but in order to step out of pride into courage, it does take strength. You have to know that you're going to be able to catch yourself and handle whatever the outcome is, or whatever the consequences are to the step you're about to take. There may be a Leo here involved. You may be a Leo, or the other party may be a Leo, your partner. You know, sometimes gentleness is strength as well. So there does need to be some courage to ask for what you want in a conversation. And that is going to allow this Two of Cups to turn upright. And then it's going to allow love to flow. Okay, so right now love is not flowing. In order to let it flow, there needs to be letting go of old baggage, and asking for what you want through a conversation, hence the swords. And it is going to take strength. It's not just easy to do this, to do what's being asked of you in this particular situation. Let me cut this deck. There's some type of burden you've been carrying silently, and it needs to be shared. There needs to be this conversation to complete the old cycle and let that go. So we got the 4 and the 5. That's a 9. That's the completion of a cycle. We've also got a 5 and a 9 here. 9 completes the cycle, but 5 is change. 5 is that burden. 5 is maybe you feel like it's going to be an argument, but when we have the little sheep there, and it's like strength, and it's like having courage. Use I statements when you communicate. That's one helpful piece of information that could help this go smoother. I want to grab my fair relating deck to see what else we could give you for advice about this expression that you expect to be a difficult conversation to have, but that needs to happen. You're in contract to do this, meaning your soul is not going to rest until you unburden yourself and serve the justice to this situation that is needed. And it is going to crumble something that already stands. You already know that. That's the hard part, right? But it looks like you really are ready. You really are ready to run in and make this, I wanted to say declaration, but maybe it shouldn't be a declaration. Maybe there should be like a conversation. Let's see what the cards say here. You are so kind. So remember your kindness in this. You're not going to get something. Like, relationships are where we go to give. So remember that. You're giving some information about what you want. That means you don't have expectations about the other person's obligation to fulfill that need for you. And you also are not attached to the outcome, meaning you're going to be okay whether it goes how you prefer or not. Because however it happens is going to be in the highest good of all. So remember your kindness throughout the whole process. Like, there's no need to bring, I don't know what this is, but like anger or defiance or big walls to the conversation, right? It's like this confidence. Quiet confidence carries the silent burden. Do you love the totality of their existence, or the fragments of them that cater to you? Right? Does this person need to do what you want in order for you to love them? Is that why the love's been turned off, because they didn't do what you wanted? So these are some things to think about, because that would be the equating to conditional love. If you turn your love off because somebody doesn't do what you want, then you don't really love them. You just love the part of them that wanted to cater to you. Right? Unconditional love is holding space for somebody no matter. You can love somebody and not like what they do. Okay? And in that case, love is done more easily from a distance. There's some people that we love from a distance. We take a step away when what they're doing seems to be harmful to us or themselves sometimes. Surrender. You can only control your response. Accept how you feel fully. Okay, so in your mind, you can kind of play with this a little bit. When you surrender and you're like giving it to God, so to speak, you're just kind of like, well, if this happens, this is how I'm going to feel. And you kind of accept that feeling fully. And then you're like, oh, if this happens, this is how I'm going to feel. And then you accept that feeling fully. So now you've balanced it. There's no part of you trying to avoid that feeling and avoid that feeling. There's no part of you invested in getting a certain outcome so that you don't have to feel a certain way. Because you've accepted the full range of ways you could possibly feel during this, you're better equipped to have courage because you've given yourself a safety net of knowing that you have your own back as you go forward. So this is a real, I feel like I want to say it's a spiritual test that is of high calling. Like when you get to a point where you're being put in this situation, look at how much your own balance and integrity is being utilized in this situation. Because I imagine that you could choose to just walk away from this, never have the conversation, and let this die. But maybe you've tried that even, but your soul just won't let you, because it's like something your soul wanted to do. So anger requires space. Yeah. So maybe you want to work through any anger that you have before you come forward to have any conversations. And if the other party is angry, then you give them space. That's what we do for anger, because that's the only anger. You can't talk somebody out of being angry, you know? If they want to be talked out of being angry, then they'll ask some questions. But that's, you know, that's it. Communicate using I statements. Yeah, I already said that. So there's confirmation that that would also be a helpful thing in this situation. Because communicating using I statements is you offering the information to the other without expectations or attachment to how they will utilize that situation, knowing you can handle yourself either way, no matter what happens. It's very mature. It's a very adult way to approach something that is apparently written in your soul's plan. It would probably be showing up in your birth chart as well, in that case, that you planned to do in partnership with somebody else. So whatever the circumstances are, you know, apply it to your situation. But there is something here that's come from another lifetime where there is ancient knowledge involved, and this is someone that your soul, it's like a soul partnership. It's like a soul brother. It's like a soul sister. It's like someone that you are meant to work with, at least on this particular lesson. And if it's meant for more than that, then you'll know that, you know, apply that to your situation, how it best makes sense for you. Okay? Okay. Pick one that was very interesting. Remember, this is just information to reflect on. It's meant to be helpful, so only take what is helpful to you and leave the rest. And I want to thank you for being here. And I will end your reading there and perhaps see you in a future reading. Bye now. Hi, pick two. Pick two, I'm doing the shuffling and dealing right on camera today. That's something that I don't often do. But for a change, the resolution is really low on this video recording right now. So I figured I'll do it for a change, for anyone who feels interested in seeing that. I usually pause and don't include this in the recording because it cuts off some of the time for the video. The longer the video is, the longer it takes to upload. The longer it takes to upload, the longer I have crappy service for the rest of my internet use. And it takes hours also. So, I don't have cable or anything like that. I just use the internet for any viewing of media. And I do have phone service, not home phone service, but broadband. I usually use my Wi-Fi with my phone when I'm home, though. Gosh, what a great life we're living, huh? In the coming days, I'm going to show you guys my home and a little bit more about how I live and stuff, just because I kind of you know, keep my home like a little museum for myself. And I just thought it'd be cool to show you. Like, as I look around right now, I'm just like, oh, I just love being alive. Most of my stuff around the house is just little creations or gifts or things that I've picked up that I really like. I mean, it's nothing spectacular and, you know, awe giving or anything like that. It's just stuff I like. Alright, we'll take all those. Why not? Why not? Now we will take some cards from this. I'm just going to shuffle these loosely right here like this. So pick two. How have you been? Things going well for you? What are you grateful for lately? Feeling stuck in a cycle or burdened by something? Is it your thoughts? Okay, this one fell down. I'm gonna go These will go like that. And now we're gonna get some from my astrology bucket. I'm gonna mix this up a little. Ooh, the wisdom bearer, Sophia, already popped out, if you can see. You're gaining a lot of wisdom through whatever it is, whatever this is that you're going through right now, which may feel a bit like a lot of work. Let's see if that's enough. Alright. So what is this reading about? Polyamory. Interesting. That's the second time I've seen that today. I saw it on a TikTok video where a woman was going to talk about polyamory. I swiped past it because I had no interest, but it's not because I'm judging that lifestyle. It's to each their own, and it's just nothing I'm interested in. But something that might be playing out or might be being presented to you at this time in your life, or maybe you're curious about it. Maybe you're coming out of it because we've got completion of a cycle. Maybe there was a time where you were like dating more than one person. You know, polyamory doesn't have to mean that you label yourself with that and you relate in a big family type sister wives way. It doesn't have to mean that. All it means is many loves. So if you were like dating people, you know, this could be indicating that. We have he walked away. Group date, interesting. So in addition to polyamory, we have group date. So that would indicate that there is more than one, more than two people on a date or hanging out or being together. Inspired by him. Maybe inspired by him walking away, but let's see. Emotionally fulfilled, and we got completion again. So this is completion twice. And then play ball, equal give and receive. Now that is going to be very important if you have more than two parties Even with two parties, it's very important, right, to be equal in your giving and receiving. But if you start getting a lot more people in there, I would imagine that it gets a little more complicated, or, just to keep things like fair. I would think that that's a little bit tricky at times. But this seems really specific, and I don't know how many people have this situation, but I will speculate and say this could be that this type situation is over with because somebody walked away. Let's see. We've got a reconciliation, trust. Trust is another thing that's going to come into play in that type of dynamic. Trickster. This is people using manipulative tactics and coercion tactics in order to get their needs met. That means they're not sovereign. And if you're going to have more than one love that you're in relationship with, you're each going to need to be sovereign, for sure. Because if you start pulling on each other, then you're going to get into jealousy and all kinds of unhealthy relating dynamics that are definitely going to feel burdensome. So maybe you're doing that so that you could learn something from it. Some people really enjoy the drama of that kind of stuff. This looks like something you're definitely devoted to, and did require a lot of self-love. Maybe there was some party that wasn't doing self-love but was inspired to it by watching others. There's a lot of hope in this situation. Some slight tensions to keep it exciting, and a lot of wisdom being gained. Okay, so it feels like it wasn't a very secure foundation to plant in, that a conversation needed to be had. Maybe there was a lot of naivety in one party or more. And this became very burdensome. So someone had to take a lot more of the brunt of the burden than others. And some just said, no, thank you. I think 3 were left. Okay. And the devil. So addictions, patterns, avoidance of higher truths may have all led to this kind of learning what you wanted to learn and completing this cycle, and having a conversation that may have been difficult about, certain naiveties and like where this wanted to go going forward, like where you wanted this to go going forward. Now, let's take some advice cards from this deck here. We've got forgiveness came out through the Pelican card. Okay, so if there's forgiveness, maybe there were expectations. Expectations are going to usually require somebody to let us down. And then we think, oh, well, we're a victim to that, and then we need to forgive them, or they need to apologize, or whatever. And it's all this push-pull. And we talked about equal give and receive. And it's like, well, are you giving and receiving something that was freely given to you? Receiving is allowing something to come to you. It's not manipulating and coercing something to come to you. Like, it's not fair, you're not spending this time with me, or, whatever it may be. It's like, if you start doing that, if you start getting into that push-pull kind of stuff, that is imbalanced, and that is going to cause a situation where somebody feels hurt, somebody feels let down, and then they want, and then they want to be apologized to, or they need to let go of a grudge that they're holding, which is actually the placeholder to the pain that they have assigned outside of themselves as the cause, when really it's just a need for them to be with a part of themselves who feels something, who's allowed to feel whatever they feel. It's just like, yes, you can feel hurt and wronged, but to put the responsibility on someone else to make that better for you, here's where you're going to get yourself into trouble, because in order to be self-sovereign, you need to take responsibility for how you feel. Then, if the other person comes along deciding that they learned something from the situation and really want to express that they care about how you feel during the exchanges that have happened, then you can take that into consideration when deciding if you want to have subsequent interactions and experiences with them or not. So that's one thing. Then we have let go of your judgments. Yeah, so somebody has been deemed wrong in a situation, and it's time to let go of that in favor of caretaking your own emotions about the situation. So that pain, you've been seeing it in them and saying, well, they're the wrong one, they did this, that's so bad. And instead it's like, no, let's they can, yes, you can think that that's wrong and stuff, but the more important thing for you to do at this point is to sit with and be present with the part of you that feels pain because of whatever you're assigning the reason as. Okay, then we have productiveness. Go ahead and just do it. So this is one of the advices, and this might be go ahead and just do it, end the cycle. Go ahead and just do the forgiveness. Let go of the judgments. Let's see what else. Swan. Grace. Appreciate the beauty inside and all around you. And this we referenced as that self-love. So you've learned something beautiful and interesting from this situation that you've been in. And that is valuable. That's a valuable piece of information that you can take with you. And if you can start by being present with the pained parts of you, then eventually you will also get to the part where you get to appreciate what you did gain from the situation that you found yourself in. Even though a situation ends, it doesn't mean that we didn't get some joy and pleasure from it. The only part of us that doesn't like that it ended is the part of us that had expectations otherwise. And expectations can be an unequal way of giving and receiving. It causes an imbalance in the relationship. So it will be disappointed anytime that we set ourselves up in that way. Okay, so you've learned a lot from this situation. Okay, and because this is pertaining to a relationship, I am going to get a few cards from the Fair Relating deck. That one flew out. I'll grab it in a second. Okay, go for the first one first. And it says surrender. You can only control your response. Accept how you feel fully. So when you let yourself surrender, meaning you don't control the outcome, it is what it is, and you feel your feelings in accordance to that reality, or that potential of what could happen when you surrender, or to the truth that you don't have control over it. Be present with how you feel and accept it fully. Okay, this is regaining the equilibrium for yourself. Find out what the issue is so you know what needs to be solved. So we talked about a conversation was had, and if it wasn't had, maybe it needs to be had. Maybe that question is something that needs to be asked. And doing it without the expectation or attachment to outcome. So doing it while being in the surrendered state. And then celebrate how far you've come, right? Because there have been a lot of great experiences up till now. you've learned a lot from the experience till now. And where you are is at the end of a cycle. Let's solidify that by celebrating how far you have come. You find yourself here, a very interesting and valuable place to be. And when one cycle ends, another one begins. So you're basically at a rebirth or crossroads in your situation. Okay? And I do want to recognize that it can be difficult in this transition period, but remember that this is something important that you're gaining as far as wisdom goes. It's not for nothing. Okay. All right, pick 2. Very interesting. Remember, this is just information to reflect on. It is meant to be helpful, so just take what is helpful to you and leave the rest. And perhaps I will see you in a future reading. Bye now. Hello, pick 3. Pick 3, I am doing the shuffling on camera this time. I don't usually do that. I usually pause while I do that, the dealing out of the cards, just to save time. But I've lowered the resolution on the video so much that I thought I would just give this a try for anyone who really does enjoy seeing the cards come out in real time. So, I probably won't do this often, but I'll do this today. So this deck, this is how I have to do this deck. How you been doing, pick 3? Alright, that's a lot. Well, we'll just go with that and see how that goes. Now we will get some from the Astrology Oracle, which I'm mixing up, and which is very full. And to be honest, getting inconvenient, but it's still giving me good info, so I'm still using it for now. I saw Follis almost come out. Follis is like the centaur that represents this like realization that you have, and then you just can't unsee it. And it's like the snowball effect of like what one little thing made so many big changes going forward. And then I want to get some from this tarot deck. I'm afraid to damage these cards, so I'm not very good at shuffling them. This is like a very cheap version of the Light Seers Tarot. It's a mini version. You can tell from my hands that they're little. But very easy to flip through like this, which is how I like to get my cards. So I've got just the right amount of gloss, because I like taking cards that flip out. I know not all readers like that. Lots of readers shuffle until they're ready to cut the deck, And I think that's a wonderful way to do it as well, and sometimes I'm drawn to doing it that way, but mostly I like this. Did you get outside today, pick 3? It's really beautiful out today. I was really, really glad that I got a chance to get out. Alright. Let's see. This, and this, and this, and this. We'll turn them that way. I'm going to look at these white cards first and find out what's this reading about. So there may be things that you kind of have made assumptions about and you feel like you know what it is, but you know, that may or may not be the case. This is about a soul contract. So something you may have decided you understand, there may be more to it. Grass is green, go. Interesting, because a lot of these came out in another reading. Shine your light. Time to move, and that could be just moving your body, could be moving your residence, completion of a cycle, 10, 10, and you are showing themselves right now, but the cards are actually like this. Oh, a single life, spiritual guidance, temporary boyfriend, and communicate openly. So if you are dating someone, maybe it's, you know, you're meant to have that interaction, but maybe it's only meant to be for a temporary situation. And if you know that, it may be important to communicate that. Like, you know, like it may be appropriate to say, hey, you know, I'd like this, but only this. Like, I'd like to date, but only that. I'm not looking for something serious or whatever, you know? That could be appropriate here. Let's see what these have to say. Unaware. Yeah, you may need to make somebody aware of something. And that could be the contract, right? You owning up to your truth in the face of somebody else, instead of letting them be misled or bamboozled or fooled or have expectations of you that you can't meet. Having a communication with them could really benefit you, and it could be what your soul intended on doing to sort of like, I don't want to say pass the test because I don't think it works exactly like that, but like in order to achieve what you know yourself to be capable of, I'll say that. Taking the high road, in other words. So you may be focusing on your career, you may be seeing things from a different perspective now, especially, or be open to, since we talked about your assumptions may not be exact, and finding yourself in the now moment. So when you're doing whatever you're doing and you're losing track of time, or when you're not doing anything and you're in that stillness of meditation, this is where a lot of your insights can come through. You may be celebrating life at this time and getting a little bit spooky for the holiday season. There may be things that feel like they're haunting you, or omens, something like that. Something is true. Whatever you thought about the spookiness, it's true. It's time to shine your light. Now we've got the sun. And it's like it's your responsibility to do so. There's a responsibility pressing on you right now. And it's to step into and be true to who you really are. This is a preventative measure that you're taking, okay? Because if you don't do this, if you do not step into your highest timeline at this point, you are going to live the lower timeline, which is, it's the difference of a decision. You decide at any time what you're going to live out, right? Based on your decisions, life unfolds. And it's like, this is talking about following through on any guidance you have to be forthcoming and open in your communications, either with spirit or with another person. It's a preventative measure, meaning like, if you don't do it, there is something else that's going to happen. Now, this isn't some sort of threat or to make you worried, because I'm sure you can live out and handle whatever it is. And in fact, I would venture to say that it's probably something you've already been through before. Like, it's a cycle, right? Like, you already know what will happen if you don't. And it could be some sort of war. It could be and it could be an internal war, where, say you have intuition weighing on you, or your soul's trying to convey something to you with signs and symbols, and it's like you're ignoring it, and you're ignoring it, and you're ignoring it. And now it's like you're at war internally with your own soul. And you can't win that war, okay? You cannot win that war. You're just prolonging any suffering that you may be in by doing so. Communication is very, very important. We've got this celebrating and life of the party. So when you're having fun, that's maybe when it's easier for you to connect to this intuition, because you're not thinking about the past, you're not thinking about the future, you're not worried, you're not scheming, you're just in the moment, and that's when you can hear it best. Balsamic moon. So this is breaking apart some solidified feelings, some sort of avoidance of a way to feel could be what's in the way of having this communication. Like if it was a communication with a boy that you were dating, and you had to be disappointing to him, and you didn't want to feel what it feels like to disappoint someone, that could be the thing preventing you from fulfilling this soul contract. Now you've got to somehow get good with the feeling of disappointing someone. Maybe look back to your childhood. Where did you disappoint someone and not be able to process and be present with your own feelings about it? Once you're present and able to be present with and accept fully your feeling of disappointing someone, then you won't be doing things to have to avoid it or be scared of it in the future. You know that you'll be the one who has loved yourself, even though you're someone who can disappoint someone. This is life. We have to follow our own urges, and sometimes that disappoints someone. Other than that, you'd have to be thinking someone else knows better for you than you, and that's not true. That will never be true, because you are in your body. You are the one who can access your guidance system, which is your body, which is giving you those gut feelings or those intuitive prompts. The other person can only speculate or advise based on what they want. So you really have to speak up. And say it was a case of you avoiding listening to your own intuition or your own soul prompts. There's some sort of feeling that you have lodged in you about that, what that means. Like, maybe you've thought people who do that are crazy or weak or vulnerable or illogical or dreamers, or whatever it is. Whatever feeling you have about doing that, is a feeling that you have to accept fully and be present within your body, and be the one who loves you despite your ability to feel that feeling, so that you don't have to do whatever it is that you're doing to avoid being in touch with the wholeness of who you are, because it's just time. It's just time to bring everything into wholeness and be a single unfragmented being, because all of these ways of being that aren't whole they're like fragments, and those little pieces of us that are fragmented have their own agenda. This is like joining in all the fragments into this one being who has the highest good of yourself as a whole in mind. Right? Because the fragment of you that wants to avoid disappointing people, that fragment only has its own agenda in mind. It only has its own wanting to avoid feeling like it disappointed someone in mind. It doesn't have your whole well-being in mind. Same as if you were holding a grudge against listening to your own intuition. that fragment of you that's keeping you from listening to your intuition doesn't have the whole big picture of what you as a being needs. It's only acting in accordance to its agenda, which is to avoid that. But that doesn't serve you on the highest level where you can be served. So this goes back to like an assumption that you've made, an assessment you've made of a situation, which is like maybe you've assumed that it's inappropriate to disappoint people. Maybe you disappointed a parent and like they shamed you so badly that you don't want to disappoint people anymore. But life sometimes serves us up disappointment. You're not doing anyone any favors by trying to be the one that never disappoints them. Trust me. Okay. Well, I mean, I know that you don't have to trust me, but like I can see many reasons why that would not be serving them, is what I will say. Okay. We've got justice in reverse. Yes, right now things are out of balance. And you may be nostalgic, right? You may be thinking back to times where you felt certain ways about, or there were certain outcomes when you did whatever you're being faced with again. Well, sure, you've learned what doesn't work. You've learned a lot of what doesn't work. And you may be refusing to kind of reassess the whole situation because you've already decided, well, that doesn't work. I'm not going to even touch that anymore. But it's like, well, it doesn't work that way. You did it because you didn't accept the feelings fully. You didn't be present with the feelings. That's why it didn't work. You just didn't have all the steps. You didn't have all the tools that you need. Now you do. And this is a decision that needs to be made with your own free will. Right? Like, I think that you have a tendency maybe to be self-sacrificing and very generous with others, and I don't know if it's as much as like being a people pleaser, but it is saying like certainly time to let yourself reassess this situation for yourself. Let's see some advice. The wolf says, guardian, you are safe and protected at all times. Like you might feel like you're being led into the wolves, like, because you're like, why am I being pushed towards this thing where I've already known that's not going to work out? It's like, no, actually, you're safe to go into this. This is a spiritual lesson that you're meant to be doing, and you can have fun doing it, right? This isn't like, this is saying like have some fun so you can get the new insights and the new ideas. Be open to solutions. Make a decision and take appropriate action. Like I did say, like this has to be done with your free will. You have to make the decision to change the cycle you've been in. Decisiveness, it says. We'll get one more of this advice. You always have a choice. Freedom. So, if you are spending your life trying not to disappoint someone, that takes away a lot of your choice, right? So it wouldn't just apply to this situation. It would be apply to a lot of situations where you were faced with disappointing someone. I'm certain it's not the first time it would have been something that you felt affected by. So this is just pointing out, like, you are actually cutting yourself off from your freedom by living in this little box. And also I want to say that, you know, same thing when you go open yourself up to intuition. It's like just opening yourself up to the insights. It's like you could do it as an experiment. Say you get your intuitive prompts and it doesn't make sense to you logically, so you don't follow it. It's your choice, right? And then when you don't follow it, something else happens, and then you realize, oh, that's why my intuition wanted me to take that other route, because there's a 3-hour traffic jam this route. That's now I see, you know. It's like your intuition, you know, is there as a resource, and you have the choice to follow it or not. And eventually, once you see so many times of like not following it doesn't pay off, then you might start experimenting with following it even when it doesn't make sense. And that's how you kind of ease yourself into using your intuition while having your own free choice, your own free will, right? The universe does a very good job of showing you what you need to know. So ask and you shall receive. Like if you get an intuitive prompt and it doesn't make sense to you, you can also ask, like, well, what's so important about this? And maybe that's when it even shows you by showing you what happens instead of doing that, you know? Either way, you learn a valuable lesson, and you learn the power of your intuition, and you learn, you know, what you're willing to do to take the steps to follow it. Well, you have to make the decision to do so, and you're safe to do so. Like it's like either way, your logic, between your logic and your intuition, like you're going to be okay to like navigate this and figure this out. You're being given space to do that, so you don't have to avoid that for yourself. Like sometimes it can be an escape to live in the past and think about the past, and to stay in the known cycles and the known boxes and the known ways of operating and thinking about life. And this is asking you to take a chance on stepping out in order to fulfill what your soul actually has intended to experience here on Earth. And kind of being in that fun, playful place where you're in the present moment is much more powerful for doing so than living in the past at this time. It's like everything has a time and place, but at this time, that's what this situation is. Okay. All right, pick 3. Remember, this is just information to reflect on. Actually, before I let you go, because some of you are being asked to have a conversation with somebody. And for those of you, I'm going to just get a couple of these fair relating reflection cards. Hold space for the other. Know they can heal and understand when they are meant to. Trust in the best for them. So you have to let somebody down, and you know they're going to get mad at you or disappointed or angry even. It's like, just hold space for them. Don't get angry back at them. Don't say, oh, they're such a loser or a jerk or selfish. It's just like, no. Hold in your mind's eye the space that they're well and they know and they understand, and know that they'll get to that place when they're meant to. That's the best thing you can do when you leave somebody in a difficult situation like that. And give them space. So maybe you already know that this isn't going to be well received, and you're going to want to give them space. And then it says, express care for the other's best interest. Share what you have learned or decided. So you're having to let somebody down, and it's like you can let them know also that you do care about their feelings, and that is why you're sharing this perspective you're in. It's like, well, I really do care about how you feel, and I care about not hurting your feelings, and that's why I upon realization of this place where I'm at, I feel the need to express it to you. Do you see how this is a way of caretaking and being responsible with somebody else's feelings that they've kind of entangled with you, right? And you can also discern if the other has care and learned and grown. So like, you know, depending on their response, if they're angry, just give them space. But like, if they are able to learn and grow from this too, then, you know, you can discern whether that's the case or not, whether when you decide to engage in any conversation further or not. Okay? Because if they're just going to try to convince you that you're wrong, or, you know, otherwise, or convince you to stay or give it a try or whatever, like that's when you're going to need to give them space, right? And then hold space and just be like, yeah, they'll figure it out when they're meant to. I did my part on this, and know that know that you did. Okay? Pick 3. Wow, like this I want to say a beautiful situation we're in, but only because I know that it probably isn't easy, but because you have this opportunity to handle it in this beautiful way of like high-mindedness and care, for the human heart and the human condition. So I think that's really, really beautiful, and I appreciate you for that. So remember, it is just information to reflect on. Only take what is helpful to you and leave the rest, and perhaps I'll see you in a future reading. Bye now.